The first scream pierced the air like a siren. He hit me. He rammed my leg. I was still adjusting my brakes when I looked up and saw her, Karen Fairchild, president of the Westdale Ridge HOA, clutching her knee dramatically like she'd been struck by lightning, not gently nudged by my mobility scooter. The yellow school bus behind us hissed as it came to a stop, and the doors opened with a squeal. Children stared out the windows with wide eyes. Parents along the sidewalk froze mid-wave. My chest tightened. I hadn't even touched her. Not on purpose. Not with force. Not in any way that would warrant the shrill performance now erupting from her mouth. I said I was first. Karen shrieked, her face turning blotchy red beneath layers of thick makeup. You're reckless. You disabled people think you can just run people over for sympathy. That was it. The sentence. The one that turned my shame into fury. The one that told me this wasn't just about a sidewalk or a bus stop or even some phony injury. It was about power. And Karen had been drunk on it for years. My name's Elijah. I've lived in Westdale Ridge since I was 10 years old. I went to the same elementary school where the bus now waited, engine idling in awkward silence. I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy at age 14, and by 27, I was in a mobility scooter full-time. I live with my mother, though I pay my share and I help tutor local kids in math. I'm quiet. I keep to myself. I never miss trash day. And until that morning, I'd never given Karen Fairchild a reason to target me. But it didn't matter, because Karen needed someone to target. And this time, she chose me. The bus driver stood frozen on the steps, unsure whether to call for help or for backup. A few kids had already stepped off and stood awkwardly in a circle, watching this adult meltdown unfold like it was some kind of theater. Ma'am, I said calmly, my voice shaking only slightly. You stepped in front of me without looking. I wasn't speeding. I didn't hit you. I even apologized. Karen pointed at the scooter like it was a monster truck. You clipped me, and now you're trying to make me look crazy. There are children here. I'm filing a report with the HOA and school district. You need to be removed from this route zone. Removed? From a public sidewalk? That's when I realized this wasn't just another Karen tantrum. This was coordinated. Calculated. She was trying to erase me. The parents started murmuring. Some looked uncomfortable. Others started recording. But no one spoke up. No one. Until Maya arrived. Maya Ramirez, a school counselor and single mom of 2, lived across from me. We'd shared garden tips, weekend greetings, and the occasional emergency Amazon delivery. That morning, she stepped out of her car with a bag of lunchboxes and a look that could kill. Are you serious, Karen? She said, marching up. I saw the whole thing from the curb. Elijah was 3 feet away from you when you screamed like a banshee. Karen recoiled. Excuse me? You didn't see the angle. He ran into my cut the act, Maya snapped. You stepped in front of him while yelling at the bus driver to wait for your grandson's turn at the front. Elijah didn't touch you. And even if he had, you don't get to speak to a disabled neighbor like that in front of children. Karen's mouth fell open. You're defending him? No, Maya said, crossing her arms. I'm defending truth. The tension cracked like ice. Parents who'd been frozen suddenly came alive. Phones were out. Whispers spread. And Karen, who once ruled this street with HOA citations and fear, looked around and realized something had changed. But I didn't want sympathy. I wanted clarity. I pressed the button on my scooter's dash. The little camera I'd installed last year after Karen threatened to fine me for parking it too visibly had been rolling the whole time. I opened the screen and played the footage. There it was, me rolling up slowly behind her, Karen abruptly turning and stepping backward without looking, then stumbling and launching into her shrieking fit. Not a single point of contact. No aggression. Just raw entitlement on display. Karen turned pale. And just like that, the crowd shifted. Maya looked at me. You want to take this further? I stared at Karen, who now looked far smaller than she had just moments ago, shrinking behind her green HOA badge like it could shield her from consequences. Yes, I said. I think it's time someone held her accountable. By noon, the clip had already gone viral in our neighborhood Facebook group. Maya posted it under the caption, Karen Fairchild falsely accuses disabled neighbor of assault. Watch and judge for yourself. The video was only 37 seconds long, but every second was damning. You could hear my calm apology. You could see Karen's dramatic stumble that never connected with me. You could watch the crowd start to realize what was happening in real time, and most of all, You could hear her words about "you disabled people" like poison poured in public. By mid-afternoon, 3 board members from the HOA showed up at my front door not to threaten, but to apologize. "Mr. Elijah," said Mr. Chun, the HOA treasurer, visibly uncomfortable, "please know the board was unaware of her latest actions. This has gotten out of hand. I assume you've seen the video?" I asked, raising one eyebrow. He nodded quickly. "We have, and we're deeply concerned. The bylaws are clear about harassment, defamation, and abuse of authority by board members. There will be a special session called to address this." She filed a citation against me for reckless endangerment, I added. "Falsified, of course. We've already voted to retract it." "And what about her demanding I be removed from the bus route zone?" "That has no legal weight. She was acting entirely on her own." But that wasn't enough. Karen had publicly humiliated me, tried to erase me from my own sidewalk, and weaponized my disability in front of children. And she knew what she was doing. She didn't just lose her temper, she planned that confrontation because she saw me as vulnerable. She was about to find out how strong vulnerability can become. Camilla, my longtime friend and advocate, got on a call with me that night. When she heard what happened, she didn't even hesitate. Defamation, false accusation, public humiliation with a disability angle. "We can build this case 6 ways from Sunday. Will it be worth it? You're not just suing for yourself. You're setting a precedent. You'd be shocked how many disabled people have been falsely accused by HOA leaders like this quietly, behind closed doors." The lawsuit was filed that week. Karen's reaction was explosive. She cried in her front yard. She told neighbors she was the real victim. She sent out mass emails calling me a litigious opportunist. But none of it worked this time. The tide had already turned. People weren't scared of her anymore. They were ashamed of her. And the biggest twist? One of the children who'd seen the whole thing gone, 11-year-old, named Danny, spoke out during his school's kindness assembly. He stood at the mic with tears in his eyes and said, "It wasn't fair how grown-ups treated Mr. Elijah. He's the one who helps me with math after school. He's the kindest guy on our street. Why did they act like he was dangerous?" That clip made it to the local news. Karen's fate was sealed. The HOA voted 28-1 to remove her from the board permanently. The school district filed a formal complaint with the county against her for interference at the bus stop. She was barred from any future community leadership role. But the court didn't stop there. Karen was ordered to pay a $20,000 settlement, half of which went directly to me, and the other half I requested be donated to a nonprofit that supports mobility access and anti-harassment programs in suburban neighborhoods. When the check came, I didn't cash it right away. I held it in my hands for a long time. Not because I doubted she owed me, but because I realized something bigger had shifted. For once, the quiet one wasn't silenced. The man in the chair wasn't seen as less. He was seen fully. Maya came over that night with her kids and a pie she didn't even pretend to have baked herself. "Feels different now, huh?" she asked, watching the porch lights blink across the neighborhood. Like someone pulled back the curtain. I nodded. Karen's gone. But the rot she planted? It went deep. Then maybe it's our job to replant. We did. A month later, I started a community tutoring program from my garage, free for any student, especially those with disabilities. I worked with the school counselor to build an anti-bullying partnership between parents and kids. And the HOA, now under new leadership, voted to create a permanent accessibility liaison position. They offered it to me. I said yes. And the sidewalk where it all happened? Still the same old pavement. But now, there's a small wooden bench next to the bus stop. Carved into the backrest are the words, "Respect is not optional." Sometimes, justice doesn't look like victory. It looks like presence. Like rolling up without apology. Like being visible in a world that once tried to pretend you were inconvenient. Karen tried to scream me out of sight. But in the end, her noise only amplified my truth. Now it's your turn. Was I right to take legal action and fight back? Or should I have let her scream herself out? Tell me what you'd do if it were your sidewalk.